So I want to talk about prison abolition. There has been quite a lot of talk over the many years, decades I guess, about prison reform. And there has been talk about prison abolition, but I don't think that it's talked about enough still. And people are kind of leaving this very huge elephant in the room unspoken about. And it is a real issue. We all are concerned with crime, and we're all concerned with violence happening in our communities. And I think that everybody does want justice, or whatever that means to you. But I think that everybody does want something to be done. And because we have prisons in place, people think, oh, the issue's taken care of, they're in prison, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to talk about a few things. So first, I am very, very pro prison abolition. Like, I would like them to completely go away. And that might seem really radical to a lot of people, but honestly, this system that we live in, it's not working in various different ways. It's not working. The education is not working. The political system is not working. The prisons are not working. These things are not working, okay? So we have to do something radical. There has to be a radical change. Reform is not enough, honestly. And reform, actually, when it takes place, causes more harm sometimes than good. For example, solitary confinement was introduced by the Quakers, and they introduced it as an alternative to corporal punishment. They wanted people to sit by themselves and to think about the actions that they had done. Okay, right? These are very good things. We now know solitary confinement, it's psychological torture for these people. And people end up in there for years without any sunlight, nothing. It's not good. But that was reform. That was reform. That was somebody trying to make the prison punishment, I guess, better. They had good intentions, but it was not used for good. Women's prisons were created to lower sexual abuse against female prisoners. When they created the first women's prisons in 1859, the amount of women sentenced to prison tripled that year. Tripled, okay? That is not a statistical growth that should be happening or whatever you might predict. They're filling up prisons. They're doing the same thing now where they're opening transgender prison wings. So, LGBT community who end up in prison, which, by the way, they are one of the communities targeted to be put into prison. LGBT community that's being arrested or incarcerated is increasing. So if you have bigger prisons, more people are going to be incarcerated and put into prisons. That is just how it is. Prisons are a business. They are there to fill up the amount of space that they have. If they have empty space, that's not what they want, because why? They have millions of dollars put into this prison. They have to be producing money. That's the only thing about it. So basically what I'm saying is reform is not enough. Prison reform is introduced, right, as a bill. And these bills are created by lobbying firms, okay? Lobbying firms are people that are companies, really, that create bills to help get passed into law. And these bills produce a lot of money for whatever company they're working for, okay? Everybody gets money. The congressman that helped pass it, or the legislator, whatever, and the lobbying firm, and the business itself. Okay, so everybody's just making a ton of money off of this scheme. Civil asset forfeiture, $12 billion a year. If they believe that property that you have was involved in a crime, they have the right to take that away. They can only do that in drug crimes and sex crimes. So there's incentive for police to target non-violent criminals, drug offenders, and sex workers. Reform, it's not going to work. Just give it up, okay? Unless you have a lot of money and a lot of time, then go for it. Do it, I guess. But I don't have a lot of money or a lot of time. I need the world to change tomorrow. And I'm kind of tired of waiting. I'm tired of waiting. All of you people that want to do reform, you're just waiting around. You're waiting for the next person to come in, whether it's a new president, whether it's new congressman, whether it's a new senator, I don't care, but you're waiting for somebody to come into the office that's going to listen to you. Do you understand that? Like, that's ridiculous. It's too much time to wait for somebody. If you want change, you have to do it now. And really, prisons are violent entities themselves. They produce more violent criminals, and they are festering with pain and hurt and anger. And it is also a lot of people that end up in prison actually have mental health issues. And so they're not receiving any help. They're not getting therapy treatments or whatever they need to help them figure out their problems. Because when people react violently in this world, whether it's in an argument, in a disagreement, or whether it's somebody murdering someone, it is because they are feeling something inside that they cannot express. And nobody is there to listen. Nobody is there to understand. And we let this problem get so big because we don't know how to communicate in this world. We don't know how to speak to each other. So you let this problem grow so big that all of a sudden we have murderers on the street and rapists on the street, hurting people, continuing this destruction. And maybe I am naive about the world, but I really believe that people they can love, and that they are powerful, and that they just need somebody to help them release the pain that they have. And some people have a lot more pain than others. I know some people like that, and it's hard for them to get out of that pain. And some of them need some serious help, but they're not receiving it in prisons. So you send somebody who's violent to a prison, you get them out of your community, right? So, oh yeah, I don't have to deal with that anymore. They're gone. Rape doesn't go down in our community. Theft doesn't go down. Nothing's going down because of the prisons. What I'm saying specifically is that prisons are not rehabilitating people. They are not helping them get out of the sick cycle that they're in. And 60% of the people that are in prisons are non-violent offenders. They are. So most of the people in there shouldn't be in there because they are not a physical danger to the community, okay? They smoke weed, or they do some other form of drugs, or they're a sex worker. I mean, maybe we don't all agree with all these things, but who cares? Is it affecting you? Does it affect your life and your freedom? No, it doesn't, so let it go. 60% though. I also want to bring up the fact that there is a huge racial divide in the prisons. Every 1 in 106 white men will be incarcerated in their lifetime. 1 in 106. Every 1 in 15 African American man will be incarcerated. Wells Fargo, if you are using that, you should stop if you're not in support of prisons. Wells Fargo has 4 million shares, and this was written a few years ago, so they might have more or less. But they have 4 million shares in Geo Group Inc. It is a company that specializes in corrections, detention, and mental health treatment. They are a prison corporation. Corrections Corporations of America, CCA, that is also a private prison, and Wells Fargo has 50,000 shares in there. Private prisons sell cheap labor. Basically, people are working for free because they were deemed a criminal. It is legalized slavery.